Yo, what is going on YouTube? We'll go back to another video on the Shireby channel. And today, ladies and gentlemen, I have for you a tips and tricks kind of video. Basically, what I'm going to be doing is giving you guys some of the things that I've learned so far working at my job, being a pizza delivery driver. I know the title may say fast food, but I kind of just picture working at a pizza place as technically fast food. I would say, at least from what I could tell, a lot of the same elements are there, a lot of the same tendencies and what you go through are one and the same. So if you guys enjoy this, please leave a like, subscribe to the notifications, that way don't miss any of my new videos. Let's jump right into it. Now, with this video, I don't know how long this is going to be. I'm not going to try and like run through these really fast. That's not really my goal. I'm going to try and break them down if I need to, or if I have something else to say about them, or if I have, I don't know, just if I want to break them down, or if I want to talk about them, I'll talk about them. If I don't need to, if I don't want to, I'm not gonna. To start this off, I wanted to mention also I have two sections, one being tips and tricks for delivery drivers, and the other is like during the day when you're just like in store, so kind of like in-store tips and tricks. But to start off, I want to talk about tips for delivery drivers, because obviously I work at a pizza place, I'm a delivery driver. This is the number one thing I know most about, so I'm gonna just start off with that. The first tip or trick that I wanted you guys to know about was to make sure your gas is filled before work, even if that means going to work early. Now, what I mean by that is, let's say that your tank is about 1 liter, I guess that is what it's called, 1 liter short. So it's down to the first tick mark, right? Full is right here, it's down to here, right? This is where your gas is. And let's say that you don't really feel like going to the gas station, but I mean, it would be good to have your gas filled up, which any normal person would feel that way. So let's say that that is the case, right? What I always do is I always leave for work, because I start work at 5 o'clock. So I always leave for work at 4 o'clock. And when I leave for work, obviously I put my car topper on, I make sure I got everything I need, and then I head over to my nearest gas station, Kroger gas station, and I grab, if you guys were wondering, I grab the middle one. I forget what it's called. I think it's 89 octane. That's the one I always grab, just because it makes my car run smoothly, and I feel like that's pretty needed as a delivery driver. If I was just going to work every single day and I was just like an oven tender who just watches the oven, cuts pizzas, works the front counter, or if I was on the make line all day making pizzas, I would do the lowest octane, which is 87. But since I am a delivery driver and I'm always moving around, I always make sure I have 89 octane, just to make sure my car is running smoothly. And I'm pretty sure, I know it runs down pretty fast, but I'm pretty sure it also does well with AC. I'm not 100% sure on that, but that's just what I think, and that's what I believe. So yeah, that's what I always do. So that takes about maybe to 4:15, and then from that point on, I mean, I'm also already dressed for work. I got my car set up, my gas is in my car. My pizza place where I work is only about like 15 minutes away from where I live. So I can't really speak for you guys, but that's what I do. I just go straight to work, get in some extra hours, couple extra minutes before I actually am supposed to start, which also leads me to my next point. I don't know why I said that weird. My next point, I would say, is to go to work early almost every day, except for 1 or 2 days every 2 weeks. Now, the reason I say that, and the reason it's so specific, is because I think that going to work early is a good habit. So that way, for one, you're not late to work ever. That way you don't have to worry about being late to work. It is a terrible habit to build, obviously. And where I work at, if you get written up so many times for being late, you could be fired. So I just think that it'd be pretty good if you developed a good habit of showing up to work early. That way you don't have to show up on time every day and have to stress yourself out about thinking about, am I going to be late today? Is this too close to time? Is my manager going to be mad? Just don't even do that. Just show up to work at least 20 minutes early. Come on now. And the reason I say except for a day or two every 2 weeks is because, like I said, you don't want to make it a habit, but also just to give yourself a break, if you want to spend a couple extra minutes playing on the game, if you want to spend a couple extra minutes talking and hanging out with family before you have to leave for work because you have to close almost every night, you can do that, So that's why I say that, is just because you don't want to put too much on yourself or make yourself stress out too much, because obviously that's not good either. There's a good balance, and you want to find that middle. So that's that. Next one I have up here is have something to protect yourself with at all times in your car. Nothing specific, just to defend yourself in a robbery or life or death situation. Obviously, you want protection. If you're delivering to different neighborhoods, obviously not all neighborhoods are the safest. Everyone knows that. So you always want to make sure, even in the good neighborhoods or even in the decent neighborhoods, you want to make sure you have something to defend yourself with in case some random dude or girl wants to walk up to you or come up to your car and threaten your life or threaten, your money, your car, whatever it is that they want. You always want to make sure you have at least something just to defend yourself in general, so that way you don't get hurt and there's even a chance of you getting out of that situation with your money, your car, whatever, etc., intact. So yeah, always make sure you have something right where you can grab it or on you at all times. I'm not saying pack a 9mm around or anything crazy like that. Obviously that is a potential ticket, or worse, a trip to jail, which could also be a write-up and possibly get you fired for walking around up to a customer's door with a gun on your waist or something. You always want to make sure though that you're safe. Have a baton or something of that, or if you have, I believe it's a license or something you need to have a gun on you or in your car, have that then. Just don't make it obvious to the burglar or whoever that you have that on you, make it hidden, make it to where that it's easy to grab, but nobody's able to see it and they can use that against you, so that's all I'm saying. Just make sure you have something to defend yourself with, so that way if something does happen or you do happen to get yourself in a pickle, you're not screwed. Okay, next one, check the car almost every week for things like oil, tire pressure, or missing lug nuts, hits, dents on the car, etc. Now, what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is, obviously, make sure your car is as tidy and as neat as possible. Not only on the inside, but also on the outside. Make sure you get all the garbage inside your car, on the seats, on the floor, dust it off, clean it off, a little bit of dust and stains from where you might be eating on the road, or might be eating a snack in there and crumbs are all over the floor. Keep your inside nice, but also keep your outside nice. Obviously check on things like your lug nuts, making sure that they're not missing or loose, that way your tire doesn't come off or anything like that. Not saying that happened to me, but it almost did at one point before I started delivering pizzas. Make sure that your oil is always in check. Check to see when you have an oil change coming up. That way your car isn't running on bad oil. Make sure, obviously, like I said, your gas is good. Make sure, and this is why I say this, make sure your car doesn't have dents or marks on it. For one, you don't want your car getting beat up, obviously. No matter if it's a work car, personal car, it doesn't matter. You never ever want your car to look bad or all beat up. For one, bad look, obviously, it makes you look like an irresponsible driver. But two, it can also lead to parts falling off or things getting torn up. So always make sure you're checking underneath your car, make sure you're checking the sides, making sure nothing's almost peeling off or falling off like a bumper or something. I don't know. just always make sure your car is in check. Another thing, try to memorize streets, landmarks, etc. from the start to help with navigation and also allow your deliveries to go faster, which will make you a lot more money in the long run. So basically what I'm saying is that obviously right now I'm still using Google Maps, but for some streets and some places, especially around where I live, because like I said, I live near close to work, so that's also a plus. But make sure you're like staying and paying attention to where things are, how things look. When you hear or see a street name or an address, you're like, I know at least about where that is, so I can navigate myself almost to that spot quickly and efficiently. That's all I'm saying, you know, so that way you're not always pulling up Google Maps or you're always pulling up maps trying to type in an address and you have no idea where to go. You don't know what the speed limit is. You don't know if there's a stop sign coming. You always want to make sure you can expect you want to be able to expect the most on the road and where you're going at all times. So that way, if something does happen, like you have a blowout, a deer jumps out in front of you, anything could happen on the road, as you know. So you want to make sure that you expect the most when you're out delivering pizzas, right? Or delivering whatever. Next one, when you pull onto a street you're delivering on, pull into the first parking spot that you see that is also as close as possible to the house you're delivering to. Here's a video explaining that. So I'm gonna try my best to animate this as best as I possibly can. What I meant by pull onto when you pull up to a street that you're delivering on, right? Your first thought should be, where am I gonna park? Or really the first thought is, where is the house that I'm delivering to? And where am I gonna park at closest to that address or house or whatever? First thing you wanna do is find a parking spot that is as closest to that address as possible. So I'm gonna just draw like a little example here so that you guys can see. So you go and do this. Let's say the house is right here, right? Draw a nice little chimney. Let's say that is the house, right? And you're pulling in, so we'll say, well, I can't draw over there, okay. So let's say this right here is you're pulling up in your Hyundai Tiburon and you're pulling into the street, right? So you're coming in, and let's say car here, there's a driveway in between them. You got another car, driveway to this house, and a car here, right? As you're coming in, you see a driveway. Do not park in front of driveways. I promise, do not do that. You may think that you're gonna hop in, get right back out, and granted, this hasn't happened to me yet, but I just think it's a terrible idea. If somebody is leaving that house, obviously, and they go to leave and you're in their way, it just creates a whole situation, a whole debacle. It wastes your time, that person's time that's coming out of that house. You're wasting the customer's time. Just don't do it, okay? Another thing, yeah, basically all I'm saying is that when you pull up, you want to just not even look at this. That is a no-go. That is a driveway. You come here and you come in, and then you just back up. Make sure you're nice and even, as far back as you can. Make sure there's a little bit of space between you and that car, in case, like I said, the person that's leaving that house, this house right here, can leave the driveway. But not only that, but if they have a car parked here, let them leave. Do not like make it hard for them to get out and make them wait and all that, because it just makes you look like, you know, a dick. Just don't, okay? And yeah, like I said, just make sure you're nice and as close to the curb as possible without, like, obviously scratching your rims or like your tires or anything. And obviously leave room for that person's driveway. Or, and this is something that I didn't know was okay, but depending on how many cars are in the driveway right here, you could just pull into the driveway. Literally, just from as soon as you pull in. If you happen to know which house you're pulling up to from the get-go, and you know that that driveway is clear, like you know for a fact that that is the house and the driveway looks clear, you can also pull into the driveway. So there you go. Perfect representation of what to do when you pull up to somebody's house. I just wanted to make that clear and give you all a demonstration, because I feel like me trying to put it into words didn't really make any sense. So I hope this helped you guys. So yeah, back to the video. And for my last tip, this is a big old no. Make sure, do not carry cash around from your orders, because you never know if you could be robbed, if you could drop it while, you know, just going through your pockets, pulling out your phone, your wallet, your keys, if you run into a gas station. You never know. So always make sure that money is in a secure spot. What I mean by that, or some places that I keep my money, is always in my glove department or underneath my seat, as some of my coworkers have told me. There's also lock boxes in the place that I work. I don't know if that applies to McDonald's or, you know, wherever there might be deliveries, or like other pizza places. I know that's where I work. So always make sure that you have it in a lockbox or somewhere secure. It doesn't have to have a lock on it, but just make sure it's somewhere where not a lot of people can get to it. If you just have your money on you in your back pocket, your front pocket, if you have it, God forbid, in your hand, just walking around holding that person's money that you just got from delivering an order, always put it up. And when you get in your car after a delivery from like a cash order, always hide it, put it up where nobody can see it, even when your car is parked. And that's another thing too, just to throw this in there. If there's money in your car and it's in your glove department and nobody can see it, always lock your car. It doesn't matter if you're running around the corner, it doesn't matter if you're running in a gas station. You never know what ballsy mofo is going to come up to your car, see a pizza delivery driver at a gas station, see you go up inside, you're going in there to get a drink or whatever, a snack. You never know, they could just barge in your car and steal your stuff. So you always want to make sure that you have your stuff locked up and secure, so that way nobody, and I mean nobody, can get to it. Or at least a very small amount of people, like your manager, your coworkers. You know, at that point, it's like, only so much you could do. If that money does wind up missing, that's something you're gonna have to take up with your manager, your coworkers, whatever, you know. So always make sure that you're keeping that in a secure spot where you know where it is and know how much you have. Just keep in mind all that kind of stuff as a delivery driver. Just make sure nothing is getting misplaced, nothing is, you know, where it shouldn't be, you know, all that good stuff. So on to the next section. This section doesn't really have as much, obviously. I don't really spend a lot of time in the store with my coworkers, but all of the times that I have, or all the time that I have spent in the store with my coworkers, this is what I have learned. Number one, in numero uno in any job, if you don't know something, please ask. Because there have been times when I have tried to oven tend, and I've tried to take a pizza out the oven and put it in a specific box for an order, and I thought it was a 12-inch pizza, when in reality it was a 16-inch pizza. You always have to ask if you don't know, because if you mess up one order, you set the entire store back on orders and everything. You have just now complicated something that could have been solved and arranged with just one question. So please make sure you ask if you do not know. If there is something that you do not recognize, for example, a sticker with a certain label that you do not know, and it says, I don't know, say that one thing is for, like I said, like a 16-inch, but you think that is for a 14-inch. Do not just do it. Don't just like be like, well, if I get it wrong, I'll be corrected. No. The best thing to do is just ask somebody or a coworker. They'll tell you if you're right or wrong. They'll even they should at least show you where it's supposed to go and all that good stuff. You never want to just assume, because, I mean, granted, you make mistakes, you live and you learn, but that is not the way to do it. I'm telling you guys right now, that is not the way you should be doing it. I tell you that right now. So please make sure, if you don't know something, please ask. On to the next though. Make sure that nobody has to wait or for their order, or to order in general, in the lobby of your store. Meaning that if there's somebody at the front register, in the front counter, right, And say, like for me, I'm about to go take this delivery out. I got my pizzas, everything's set up. I got my plates, napkins all inside. It's all done. Literally, all I gotta do is walk out the door. Wait a second. No matter how long you've been waiting for that food, and take care of the customer up front. If all the other coworkers are busy, if you see somebody wandering around or something like that, or in the back just now coming up to the front while you're about to leave, that's fine. You want to make sure though that nobody has to wait for their food, because obviously put yourself in their shoes. If there is a guy like me, a delivery driver, I'm about to leave for a delivery, that delivery isn't going anywhere. That house isn't going anywhere. The only thing you're gonna miss is maybe a couple minutes depending on how fast you are with the register. So just simply help that person with their order, or give them the order that they had pre-ordered and they're just picking it up. Whatever the case may be, just get it out the way, because all it does is just stress your coworkers out more and more. I'm sure, like I said, they're probably doing something else, either making the pizzas, oven tending the pizzas. They're back trying to make boxes to put the pizzas in. They're trying to do dishes because the mountain of dishes is piling up. People are trying to sweep because there's so much crap on the floor. Just help out the team, you know? Literally, all it's gonna do is cost you about like 5-6 minutes, 7 minutes at most, to help like 1 or 2 customers. It isn't that big a deal, guys. Just do it, please. Trust me, I've learned that, granted, that delivery, that time is pretty precious. Don't get me wrong, delivery time is precious, but not 7 minutes. Like I said, that's the maximum, but 7 minutes will not cost you that much money, trust me. On to the next though. Do the little things if someone else is closing, or if you're closing, things like dishes, sweep, wipe down tables, wipe down or clean up the make lines, etc. What I mean by this is that throughout the day, make sure that you're doing the small things, the chores that you will have to do at the end of the night, or at least keep up with them. Things like sweeping the floors if there's stuff on the floor, wiping down tables if there's smudges and smears all over them, if there's crumbs on them. Get that out the way, especially stuff like dishes and trash. Dishes and trash will take you probably the most time. Wiping stuff down really won't. That's more of an end of the day thing anyways. So do it. The next thing you want to make sure that you're doing, make sure that you always buy your own food. If you get hungry throughout the day, right? Always make sure that the food that you're eating is the food that you bought with your name on it, whether you wrote it on the box with a marker or the bag, whatever it may be, depending on where you work. Make sure that it's the food that you bought. Because, little story time, one day me and one of my coworkers, he was a veteran, he's been there for forever, I believe had worked there for about like 7 or 8 years, and one day we came in, I clocked in, and I had the munchies, you know, I was a little hungry. So I looked at the hot rack and I saw that there was a pizza, keep this in mind, that was there since 3 o'clock. It was about 5-6 o'clock-ish at this time. So I'm standing there and my coworker goes and he takes a slice out immediately, just takes it out and goes to town, you know, he starts eating. So I'm like, if he's eating, I'm about to grab me a slice too. So I grab me a slice. Next thing you know, we're already done with a pizza. Like, there's only about a slice or two in there. It's basically done, it's eaten. So we leave it there, and I, thinking that somebody would understand and notice, I just leave the box like open, like the outsides were folded out, the front was folded out. It wasn't shutting all the way, meaning that somebody, obviously in anybody's head would penetrate, that somebody had already reached in there, grabbed food, or at least opened it and didn't even close it, which means somebody's probably gonna eat that. No, my coworkers and manager thought that that food was completely fine and none of them checked it, I guess, at all. So long and behold, that customer comes in about 2 hours late for their pickup, which is fine. There's no deadline unless you don't, like, you show up past close, which, I mean, that person ordered at like 12 in the afternoon, came to pick it up at like 6. It's whatever, okay? All the way, that's not 2 hours. I can count. So that person obviously comes in, grabs their food, goes back home. Well, I go, at this point, I leave for delivery, and this is again at like 6. before that person came in, I had went on delivery. So did my coworker that also ate out of that pizza. That person came in, literally must have came in right after we left. They grabbed their pizza, their pickup order, and they go back home with a whole pizza that's basically eaten. And me and my coworker go and do our deliveries. We come back to the store, right? And that person is already on the phone with our manager asking who in the hell ate my food. So he pulls me and my coworker aside and tells us, like, obviously he understands that food hadn't been sitting there for a long time. We thought that nobody else was going to eat it, but he reminded us that that may be the case, but also we should just also order our own food. So we just assumed that if nobody comes and picks up their order by like 2, 3, 4 hours, and that pizza at that point is just barely hanging on by a thread, it's all like dried up and like it had been sitting there, you know what I'm saying? We just assumed that they just don't want it, especially because it was a cash one. It was a cash pickup order, meaning that they would have to come in and pay, which means also that it was easier for them just to say, we don't want it, you know, all that food that was there. So we just assumed that they didn't want it. My manager informed us, like I said, that we are supposed to order our food. So he was going to let us off this time with a warning, which, by the way, I haven't done it since. But just make sure that you guys are ordering your own food. That's the moral of the story. At my store, it is 50% off discount if we order any food from there or any food from the store. I don't know what it is at any other fast food stores or how it is anywhere else, but please make sure that you are ordering your own food, because I cannot tell you how awkward and weird it was for me to go up to my manager and explain to him that me and my coworker were just big and fat and we just wanted some food and we just didn't feel like paying for our food, and that your food is your food. Try not to let nobody, unless if obviously you let them, you can do that. You can share, but just make sure that you also keep your food with you, like in your car or something, and make sure that none of your other coworkers just think that like your food is their food. You know, I'm not saying that my coworkers are that way or that other coworkers will be that way. I just know sometimes some coworkers will just see your food sitting there for a long period of time, and say you're out on delivery or something, they'll just assume that you don't want your food anymore, or that it's been sitting there all day, and they might take a slice or two of pizza. You know, like, you never know. So just make sure that you also keep your ordered food, the food that you paid for, with you, so that way nobody else can get it. Or do what I always do and just drop it off at home and make sure that your family eats it, or that you tell your family just to put it up, okay? Anyways, last tip for in-store working at fast food. If you don't know something, wait. For my last tip, if somebody needs help, or all right, let me rephrase this. If somebody looks like they need help, do not help them unless if they ask you to help them. I'm not gonna sit here and bash my coworkers or anything, but one time, I'm not gonna say who or who they were. One time I tried to help a coworker who looked like they needed some help because we were getting a lot of orders in, and all I was trying to do was oven tend and get those pizzas out of his way, cut them, you know, the usual. And he asked me, do you like being over here, or are you just trying to help? And I looked at him and I smiled because I didn't really think none of it at the time. And I was like, I am just trying to help, dude. Like, I'm just trying to help you. And he was like, okay. And he just started like trying to like play it off like he was just kidding, or like he didn't really mean it and the way that he meant it. When I got home and I was talking to my parents about it, you know, just telling them about work or whatever, they told me that that person probably did not want my help. Like, I didn't think about it like this in the moment, but some people like going at their own pace, you know, like some people work at a certain pace. Granted, it looks like they need help, like they got a lot of pizzas coming out the oven, but they got it, you know, like they got it under control. And it's not a bad thing to want to help people. You should always want to help your coworkers, but don't just jump right in, you know, wait for them to ask you for what they want from you. They could ask you, hey, Sean, can you take the pizzas out the oven, but I'm gonna cut them? Or Sean, can you stand here and take these tickets and put the stickers on boxes while I sit here and take the customer's order, and just go back and forth. You never know. Like, there's a certain way that people work. And just like with me, if I sit here and ask one of my coworkers for help, I'm not just gonna tell them, like, just do what I was just doing, like whether that be taking orders and doing tickets or oven tending and cutting pizzas. I'm gonna just ask them to do one or the other. I think I'm explaining this badly, but like I just want to get my point across of, like, you don't just like want to jump right in to help a coworker, because like I said, sometimes they work at their own paces, or they could just not need your help. It's not to be rude, it's not to be mean, it's overwhelming for them, and it also kind of complicates what they have going in their mind. And they could be thinking about what's the next pizza coming out the oven, and by you jumping in trying to like shovel them out the oven and put them in boxes, you just messed up that whole order, that he had going in his head of like, all right, I'm gonna grab this pizza going in this box, I'm gonna grab this pizza going in this box. You never know. So just keep a cautious mind whenever you're going around helping your coworkers, doing anything. If they ask you for help, absolutely you should help them. But if they do not ask you, do not help them. Just be there, I don't know why the first thing that came to mind was like a girl going, like your girlfriend or wife going through labor, and you're just standing there and just, you got it, honey. You got it. Basically, when you just jump right in to help somebody, it doesn't really help them as much as you think. It's better if they tell you what they need from you, if they even need help, and you do that. So, yeah. That's all for today, folks. I might have a part 2 for when you close, or maybe even other stuff that I might find intriguing or want to talk about what I learned, what I would like you guys to know about delivering or working as a delivery driver. I appreciate you guys watching this video. I'm sorry if some things didn't make a whole lot of sense. If you guys have any questions or would like to know more, please comment down below. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I appreciate you guys coming through and watching this video. It means a lot to me. So please leave a like, subscribe, turn on notifications down when I post any of my new videos, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.